Claiming citizenship through your family tree is one of the most affordable ways to not only reconnect with your ancestors, but to get oftentimes one of the best second passports out there. But far too many people miss out because their family tree simply goes too far back to qualify. Today I'm going to share with you 9 citizenship by descent programs that more people can qualify for. I can't tell you how many times we've heard here at Nomad Capitalist, someone calls us and they say, oh yeah, my great-great-grandmother was German, or, yeah, I have Irish roots. Oh, that's great. When? Oh, 1762. And too many people miss out on citizenship by descent because they had someone too many generations ago to qualify. A lot of citizenship by descent programs require your parents, obviously that's the easiest one, or your grandparents. Many don't go any further than that. But today I want to share with you 9 European programs that let you go back to grandparents, great-grandparents, and even beyond. If it's your first time here, my name is Andrew Henderson. I'm the founder of Nomad Capitalist. We're a boutique consulting firm that helps 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors legally reduce their taxes, diversify and protect their assets, and also get second citizenship, whether it's by investment or claiming it through your family tree. And we help people get citizenship through their family tree all the time, well over 24 countries and counting. We also host the biggest and best offshore conference called Nomad Capitalist Live, open to all. So let's get started. 9 European citizenships where you can go back further than the initial 2 generations, parents and grandparents. Ireland is one that a lot of people, especially in the United States, qualify for. Generally speaking, you can go back through your parents or through your grandparents. However, if you were registered in the foreign birth register, you can go back as far as a 3rd generation. And people kind of classify those generations differently. To me, it's parents would be first, and then second, and then third. So for some limited circumstances, you can go back to your great-grandparents in Ireland. Many people, however, are going to be stuck with their grandparents. But you have 80 million people who could potentially claim this, so the estimates say. There are about 4 million and change people who live in Ireland, and about 4 times that many passports issued. So it speaks to the nature of the how many Irish people live around the world and how many people could be claiming that passport, which is actually perhaps one of the best ones in Europe, because not only can you live in the European Union, but you can also go and live in the UK through a special arrangement that existed before the EU. Number 2 is Italy. Again, about 83 million, 85 million people are estimated to be able to claim this all around the world, including a lot of people in Latin America. When I was in Uruguay, a number of people saying, oh, I'm Italian. There's estimated to be about 1 million Italians or people of Italian origin in Uruguay. Brazil is tens of millions. Obviously the United States, North America, lots of Italians there. And so as long as Italy was in existence, you can go basically as far back as you want. And so the process is going to take a while, but you can certainly go further back than just grandparents. You can go back to great-grandparents, potentially even further. Same thing in Poland, number 3. Estimated 30 million or more people of Polish ancestry around the world, certainly at least into the tens of billions, 10 to 20 million estimated in North America. And so as long as your ancestors were citizens of Poland at the founding of the Second Polish Republic, you can go back and claim there's no limit. Now certainly some of these things have a limit in the sense of the country had to exist, or certain kind of conditions had to exist, and so that wouldn't happen at this point in time 7 generations back. But at or after the Second Polish Republic, you can claim for Polish citizenship. Polish citizenship now more valuable, as not too long ago got visa-free access to the United States. And so that's the benefit of a lot of these European citizenship by descent programs, is you get top quality passports with some of the best travel in the world. If you're an American and you're looking to hedge your bets, if you're Canadian, Australian, and you're looking to hedge your bets, you will continue to have some of the best travel privileges in the world with these passports. Hungary is an interesting case because we've been talking about how not only has the U.S. Canceled its visa waiver program with Hungary for Hungarian citizens not born in Hungary. So if you are a citizen of Moldova or Serbia or wherever else and you had Hungarian ancestry and you claimed your passport, the U.S. will still require you to get a visa. You can't simply register online and travel the same way every other Hungarian and pretty much every other European could, because they believe there's rampant fraud and abuse. Interestingly enough, they're also canceling their tax treaty with Hungary over Hungary's refusal to sign off on their new global minimum tax. So needless to say, the U.S. and Hungary have some beefs. And what's interesting to me is if you were to be a U.S. citizen born in the United States, ethnically Hungarian, I know a few of those, You could claim your Hungarian citizenship, and I suppose if you ever renounced your U.S. citizenship, you would be ineligible to participate in the visa waiver program to come back to the U.S. You'd have to go to the embassy and get a tourist visa because your place of birth is not Hungary. That said, there's been over 1 million people, speaking to that fact, that have been approved since they opened up the laws about a dozen years ago. And so you can go back to great-grandparents or beyond if you are ethnic Hungarian. You just need to prove it. Technically speaking, they're not supposed to have language requirements, is my understanding. But I see cases where they do, and we've talked about that in numerous episodes where it's somewhat of a bureaucratic grab bag. But if you can claim Hungarian citizenship, it is certainly a little bit devalued for the aforementioned reasons. But hey, you can live and work anywhere in the European Union as a Hungarian, and perhaps you're less likely to have to deal with future tax increases and whatever else the EU is coming up with if that country is against it. So I know some Hungarians, know people who have gotten it. Definitely a good passport to get. You may want to brush up on some Hungarian just in case. Not so far away, Bulgaria, no limit if you are ethnic Bulgarian. Know a lot of people in that region, in Serbia, North Macedonia, all over the Balkans. Lots of people with ethnic Bulgarian. And so you'll see, hey, if you're from the non-EU Balkans and you want an EU passport to be able to work in Europe, to be able to travel as a European, Bulgaria does not have visa waiver program access to the United States, and so it is a little bit lesser than the other EU passports for that reason. The country is also not part of the Schengen area, which doesn't really affect your movement throughout Europe, but you can go back without limit and claim that Bulgarian citizenship. Also with Slovakia, they have recently opened this up to where you can go back to your great-grandparents and potentially even beyond. And so Slovakia, very interesting program, great passport, travel to the U.S., travel to pretty much anywhere you want, as well as, again, all these countries are in the European Union, which means you can live, work, study, do whatever you want in the EU, as well as pass it on to your children. Latvia, no generational limits. If your ancestors were expelled due to war, if you have Latvian ethnicity. I can tell you from personal experience, Poland and Lithuania's historical connection, Latvia, being in close proximity. Certainly I have ancestors who were married in Latvia. We're Lithuanian, but were they Lithuanian? And so it's interesting to sometimes track back where people are from. And I've seen cases where people are like, oh, I have Latvian ancestors, and they're actually Lithuanian. They're actually from somewhere else. And so if they're ethnically Latvian, you can go back and claim that without limits. Again, great quality passport. Lithuania, same thing, next door, up to and including great-grandparents if they were citizens of the Republic in its form between 1918 and 1940, or if they had left before Lithuania regained independence in the 90s, and so you can do that. Lithuania does have some restrictions on certain cases on dual citizenship, including by descent. They certainly have restrictions on dual citizenship for natural-born citizens, but if you're claiming it by descent, there are some cases by which you would need to renounce. And lastly, number 9, Luxembourg. Not a huge diaspora, but if you happen to have Luxembourgish ethnicity, it's estimated it's probably a 5-figure, maybe low 6-figure sum around the world. You can go back to your grandparents, so I would call that the second generation, parents and then grandparents. However, if you have a paternal ancestor, yes, they still do it that way in Luxembourg, you can go back further. And so you can go back to great-grandparents, and I believe you can even go back further than that if there's somebody who was from Luxembourg. Again, how do you perhaps exactly prove they were Luxembourgish? Well, for any of these citizenships by descent, you're going to have the records. And this is what people get confused about. They say, oh, can I take a DNA test? No, that's not going to work. They want to see a trail of paperwork, birth certificates, marriage certificates, naturalization certificates, all that kind of stuff, going back to your ancestor, proving that they were from where you say they're from. And that means, in numerous cases, someone's got to go to a village and look through archives. At least someone's got to go to the capital city in that other country and look through archives. You may need to be calling all around your country. I can tell you from personal experience, you may be calling all around. And so if you're looking for some help with citizenship by descent, feel free to contact us at Nomad Capitalist. We've had experience doing this in countries around the world, but I can tell you it's not just as simple as saying, yeah, I know someone was Italian. You've got to prove it, and that part can be the hardest. Once you have the documents, once they all look good, you can go to the embassy, you can go through the process, sometimes it's in a court in the other country, and you can get the process started. But it's that initial part that is the hardest. And hey, sometimes in that initial part, you'll realize that something's off. You'll realize that somebody naturalized 2 years before the next person was born and that the chain was broken. In some of these cases like Italy, that will make you ineligible. And so you have to gather all that information to make sure that you qualify. Then it's smooth sailing. So the hardest part comes up front, which is proving it, and then it's just a waiting game. So any of these 9 citizenships by descent, check your family tree, not just your parents, not just your grandparents, but check further back. You may be qualified for a free citizenship.